they're looking around each other, still doing signals and trying to figure out, pointing things, who's doing what.
Yeah.
Because they're not prepared. And those teams, you're going to lose more than you win. But you get the ones that walk out there and say, okay, here, boom, here's the call. Let's go do it. And believe the call from the coach, and they're good to go.
No, exactly. And I think that, you and I have talked about this off the air many times in the past, that it really is kind of a testament to the leadership that is brought into the building. And then I hate to use this expression, but the marriage really between the coaching staff and the scouting staff to be able to identify the types of players that really fit in with the coach's system. And unfortunately, we're seeing the kind of the opposite run true right now with Oakland, and they're just the easy example. But we've seen this throughout the NFL, that if there is a trust in the scouts but not in the coaches, then that's not going to work out. And the same thing happens if there's a trust with the coaching, but that there's not quality talent coming in, because of course players get hurt, players move on, players play very well and get those big contracts and they leave elsewhere. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention again, just real quick, on some of those other teams that I've just been so impressed by. And I got to kind of call myself out a little bit with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they were a team that I blasted, Scott, after the draft. I could not believe that they gave up their first round pick next year to go and get the pass rusher. And I just thought this is a raw kid coming from UT San Antonio. I mean, what are you going to do with this kid? I don't know that he can be what you want him to be as a rookie. But you look at the fact that what the Saints have been able to do, they're in the first place in the NFC South. They look like it's one of the real power conferences or power divisions, in my opinion. And then they kind of go back again in the way that they have built that team. Of course, Drew Brees they brought in as a he was originally drafted in San Diego, but he was a second-round pick. Michael Thomas, second-round pick. Alvin Kamara, third-round pick. Teron Armstead, the third, was a left tackle, is a third-round pick, despite being one of the elite athletes at left tackle I've ever scouted. Ginn was a first-round pick years ago, but he was brought in as a free agent. Benjamin Watson, first round, but he was brought in as a free agent. And so to me, it kind of goes back to what you were saying. I mean, the Mickey Loomis and his staff, and then, of course, Sean Payton and his coaching staff, they really have the New Orleans Saints believing just a year after, they looked like they were one of the real surprise teams. I personally thought that they weren't going to be able to build upon that, and yet here they are doing exactly that, building upon that, and now looking like one of the elite teams in the NFC. And at this point, at least, I think the only contender right now with those Rams.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's nice to have a quarterback,
Certainly.
But the thing that's really cool about Mickey and the thing about Sean is the fact that they have personalities where you can coexist every day. It's like a friendship. You can talk, you can have disagreements, but you come to a resolution together. And Sean does a really good job. I think with Jay, our relationship, Jay Gruden, when I was in Washington, that we could talk every day and laugh about things, talk about our families, but also talk about football. And that's so important. It's so important, because, there's a lot of moving parts in the NFL every day, a lot of moving parts. Transactions, IR, players showing up late, players want to sit out of practice, talking to the trainer, talking to the doctors, Every day is a new day, and it's tough. But the ones that are good, it's like Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? I've been to probably 50 spring days with them, for workouts.
Yeah.
And they're always together. They're always side by side. Always. And it's unique. It's just like, do you guys ever go a certain place elsewhere? They're like, no, we always hang together. We're friends. So, but yeah, no, it's the NFL is a very unique sport from the standpoint of the business itself, but it's also a simple thing. And when you can identify, a head coach, a quarterback, a GM, an owner that are all on the same page, and like I said, every day is different. You're not always going to agree, but it has to be there from the standpoint of saying, okay, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should listen to him instead of being like, listen, I'm the general manager. No, it's my call.
Yeah.
It's the same way with scouts, especially pro scouts, because they're in the building every day, and they're evaluating their teams, 8 to 10 teams, whatever it is, and bring names to you. And you can agree or disagree, but you have to listen to them. Say, okay, tell me why, and let's go from there. And then I'll take it to the head coach, But I'd tell them, why don't you talk to the head coach? So they're more involved. So all of a sudden they feel more comfortable that what they're saying means something to the organization. And, college scouts is totally different because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, but it's just they're never around. They're never around the coaches during the season. They're never around the team during the season at all. But they're doing a very important job, more important, in my opinion, than the pro scouts. But I respect the pro scouts, but they're doing a much more important job from the standpoint of identifying young football players that can play. You brought up earlier about scheme. It's huge. It's huge. But also, I'll fight it from the standpoint if I know there's a player on our board that they're saying doesn't fit the scheme, I say, well, if he's the best player on the board, we're taking him. And you'll adjust your scheme to have him play. That's what it was with Brandon Sheriff. They're like, well, he can't play left tackle. I said, I don't give a crud.
Yeah, I hear you.
Play him at guard. You can play him at guard. You can play him at center.
Yeah.
I guarantee you this, he's going to be a really good football player in the NFL.
No,
and, you got 11 guys. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the best players to be on the football field.
Yep.
Coaches have to coach, but you also have to have enough intelligence and enough thought to know, so he's going to be our left guard. Okay, what's that matter? Is he one of our best 11? Well, of course. Okay, put him in left guard. So he's not the left tackle. We got Trent Williams at left tackle.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Really good player. But that's the key thing about the whole process with the building the roster and going through the draft process and free agency is make the best 11 be on the field.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, special teams. That's how you win games. I mean, you can height, weight, speed. Like you talk about the receivers came out in that draft. Great. The guy's 6'3", 215 pounds, and runs 4.36. Okay. Is he a football player?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why maybe and take him in the first round? No. Give me a Brandon Sheriff type guy. It's like, no, there's no maybe involved. Exactly what you see on tape is exactly what you're going to get. At center, guard, tackle, it didn't matter. And it's just, when you start doing that in the draft, like the Raiders with all those picks coming up in the next 2 years, if you just identify football players,
yeah,
and don't worry about the measurables, don't worry about the combine, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to watch, and the medical is very, very important, and the background's very important.
Certainly.
but take a football player. There's 5'9" safeties I've scouted that I really liked.
Yeah.
They played 10 years. And Mike Adams.
Yep, that's his first guys that I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, still playing.
Yep.
Because he's smart, he's tough.
Yep.
And he's a professional. He knows how to go about his business.
Yeah. Well, we talked about some of the linebackers in the past, and another player that immediately jumps out in my mind is, Kyle Williams, the defensive lineman in Buffalo. Just some guys who just have a different mentality than everybody else, and those are the kind of guys that help you win, that can be that glue on your roster, and so it's. Here I am. I'm talking to one of the foremost authorities when it comes to evaluating talent. I mean, your success, Scott, speaks for itself. So, without putting you on the spot too much, I know that you're consulting with some teams, and but kind of going back to some of those clubs. I mean, there's some clubs out there who need some help. And we talked about the Raiders, the Giants. I mean, now I would assume that the Raiders now are going to be potentially looking to. For a wide receiver with one of those 3 first-round picks or one of those 2 second-round picks this year. But this is an elite wide receiver class, in my opinion. It's solid, but I don't think you're going to see 6 wide receivers go this year the way they went, that in that year with that Cooper went number 4 overall. And the same thing with the Giants. I am intrigued about some of the corners this year, especially some of the young corners. But I want to kind of just get a feel, your general sense. Do you feel like this is of wide receiver, corner, and quarterback from what you've seen so far? And let's just assume that every single draft eligible player, redshirt sophomores, juniors, everybody you've seen so far, let's assume they all come out. Okay. What do you think, if you were to give these positions a grade, do you feel like wide receiver is better than normal, about average, or below average?
I would say average.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel too. I don't know that there is a player like an Amari Cooper, obviously came out of Alabama, went number 4 overall. I don't know if there's a wide receiver in this class that I feel like is worthy of a top 10 pick. So if you're the Raiders and you potentially have that top 10 selection, it looks like they will, and obviously with 3 first-round picks, even if they get into a little bit of a run here, if they want to trade up, you made this point, if they want to trade up, they could obviously get into the top 10. I just don't know if there's a wide receiver that makes sense for them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because wide receivers are a little bit of a gamble. I really think, going back to your point, that those linemen is really the way you develop this team. Of course, the Raiders invested some draft picks a year ago in defensive linemen, but Mo Hurst and his medical issues, Arden Key and his medical issue, or his other issues, you're going to want to, I would think you'd want to readdress that defensive line. But so let's move on to cornerback then. At least I'll throw out my opinion. I think this cornerback class could be special, but again, a lot of the redshirt sophomores. I'm a big fan of Byron Murphy. We talked about number 1 at UW. And then Greedy Williams, the corner at LSU, is a redshirt sophomore. DeAndre Baker at Georgia. I think that there's at least the 3 players I just mentioned right there, I think are all top 20 picks if they come out. I don't want to put you on the spot and disagree with me, but if you do, then please say so. What do you think about this corner class? Think it's above average, about average, or below average?
I think it's average to a little bit above average.
Okay.
I've seen, I'm not going to say names, but I've seen quite a few DBs that, and not just top 20 picks. I'm talking second, third round guys too, that are cool. They have a chance to be good players. Now, I have not seen them in person. I don't know exactly the height they are and the arm length they have, because I think, in my opinion, that's so important for a corner.
Yeah.
To be a press corner for sure. But no, I've seen some good players.
And then lastly, I want to kind of talk about the quarterbacks, and that. I'm nervous about these quarterbacks. I mean, I told you this, a couple of weeks ago, that I was still waiting to see Justin Herbert from Oregon put the Ducks on his back and win a game. And I thought I was going to see that in the second half against Washington State. I don't know if you watched that game. Yeah. But I mean, they came out flat, and it was an emotional win the week before against University of Washington. I get that, and I like that Herbert seemed to be the leader to kind of get his team going. He certainly played better in the second half. But at the same time, he did not win. I've not yet seen him win a game for Oregon that I didn't think that they could win just on their own anyways. And so I mean, he's my number 7th rated player in this draft class, Scott. So it's not like I'm blasting this kid. But to just proclaim him as the second coming, just because he's gifted, I still have some reservation. To me, he's still a junior. He looks like an underclassman that just in my personal opinion, I think the